when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers. Oh, it's one of those mornings where I needed the dance. We don't say it enough. Thank you again, Emily Bashinsky, for the awesome theme song. I hope all of you got a chance to boogie down, because it's one of those mornings for me. I'm Jeff Cannata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky. Hi, Lana.
Hello, good morning. Let me tell you, I needed the dance because I feel like it came full circle with my whole experience of these chapters. And I know we're not quite at the end of the book, but I made a night of it. I took a bath. I did, lotions.
Nice.
I read the book. I had the whole thing. I felt immersed and relaxed, and I'm excited to chat about the book with you today.
Penultimate Midnight Tides episode.
Woo!
The penultimate one. We only have one more big chapter and then the epilogue. That'll be next week. But we got 3 chapters this week, so tons to get to. I feel like these chapters are just like building momentum, this snowball coming down the mountain, heading to crescendo. So good.
So good.
We'll get to all of it. But first, we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic. So if you're not caught up with the reading, you can still hang out and have fun with us. And I have more of an esoteric topic. Topic is a strong word for what I'm about to do. It's just a thought that occurred to me that I wanted to share with you, Lana, and see what your feelings are. Because I believe it was last week that we did the listener suggested topic of, this notion of what is the thing that different authors do that you sort of skip through to get to the plot. That was the way the question was presented by our viewer, our listener. And I kept kind of spinning on that notion because I get it. I understand where that's coming from, but I'm listening to an audiobook in tandem with, reading these novels, and it's another fantasy novel. I mentioned it before. I'm not here to cast any aspersions on that author or that book. I'm enjoying it to a certain extent. I'm kind of waiting for it to pick up. People say the second half of it is much better than the first, but regardless of that, I feel like it is a book that if you just told me what happens in each chapter, I would get the experience of the story. In contrast to that, I think if you told me what happens moment to moment, like for example, I use this outline, this document that's been around online for the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and it basically just kind of step by step bullet points what happens in each chapter, each moment of each chapter, which is very useful, but does not convey at all the experience to me of reading the Malazan Book of the Fallen. What is enriching, what is special, what is irreplaceable to me is the way it's expressed, the moments between the moments, the thoughts, the introspection, and the manner in which those plot points are actually expressed. And to me, that's what I'm looking for every time.
Yeah.
When I pick up a book, what I'm looking for is not great plot, although that would be nice. Much more than I will take style over substance any day of the week. I'm thinking of books like A Confederacy of Dunces, or even Catcher in the Rye, or I would even put something like The Road, Cormac McCarthy's The Road in this grouping, where it's like what happens is not as important as how it's told.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you react to that, because it seems to me, based on that question that we got last week, there are people that aren't like that. They just want a cool tale to be expressed to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's totally fine. I'm just kind of trying to say what my preference is.
I think there are definitely times where having a cool story is that I feel like it's like, it's popcorn. It's like so easy to digest, and it's so easy to just pick up and eat pieces and put it down and move on. And I kind of feel that way with like the book that I have been pairing with our books that I talked about a couple times on this show, the Burner Bot stuff. It is a cool story, and there are more interesting like sort of social things and emotional things happening to sort of the main character in it. But there's like a lot of interesting action. It's a cool story. More than anything else, it is a cool tale. But I do think that my personal preferences are more with you. There was a good buddy of mine, Oscar Vega, who once described my storytelling. Not I don't write stories, but the way I tell stories about my life is I will take the most mundane thing, a story that absolutely has no punchline, and I will make it the most interesting thing that you've ever heard. And I was
That's a talent.
initially insulted, being like, I think there's a point to my stories. I'm not saying nothing. But then thinking about it, I'm like, well, actually, I'll take it. I'll take it. And so I do think that I like the way a story is. I think there's room for both.
Well, certainly, in the best case scenario, you want a marriage of both. And I think with these novels, there is a marriage of both. Like, I'm excited to find out what happens next. And I think it's cool, like as I said in the beginning of this episode, like we're moving to this crescendo, and there is plot is happening for sure.
I think I more mean not that there's like room for both and like a single story. It's that I think there are stories that I hear or that I've read that I like it just being the story, because the story itself is so interesting that I guess a truly exceptional person maybe could marry both, but it's like I really just want to hear that what's going on. Just tell me what's happening with the things, because that's the part I'm interested about. And then I think there are stories where I care more about the human condition, the emotional state, the deeper sort of feelings that the story is trying to evoke. And I actually think before we started, if we go back to like the first episode where we're talking about our preferences, I would have said I'm more the former than the latter. But I think seeing it done so exceptionally, and there are chapters that at times they don't feel meandering, but they feel beside the point. But knowing everything kind of feeds together, it enriching my experience of living in this world, enriching my the contrast of the story, making it so much more juicier to like just sink into. I think that I would say otherwise.
That's interesting. I wonder what viewers think, because I'm certainly open to the notion that even the attempt to bifurcate those two things is foolish. Like I'm open to the notion that just me even making a distinction is not relevant. Like you have to have both, or you have to have a sense of both, a certain amount of both in order to be successful or have a successful landing on the reader. So I wonder if I mean, it's a mistake to even make the distinction, but I do think that I am much more inclined to read and this is, I'm curious if I'd have to do more introspection if it's just books or also films and TV and other storytelling medium. But specifically in books, I think I'm more inclined to spend time with something that doesn't really go anywhere, but does it spectacularly. Do you know what I mean? Like does it in a strong stylistic way and makes, it flourishes that are, that I find impressive. And I'm more inclined to stick around for something that kind of doesn't really move and is more of just I don't know.
A statement on the feeling?
I guess you would call that maybe a character piece where it's just sort of like introspective and
Are you very into poetry.
Limericks.
Oh my God.
On that note, we should probably jump into the meat of the episode. We got 3 chapters, starting with chapter 22. So spoilers starting right now. Lots of stuff to get to. Chapter 22. We start with Troll Sengar. There is this wonderful scene that kind of takes place. We find out a lot of what's been going on with Mayan and the family. He is sort of assembling all the brothers, or not all the brothers, but many of the brothers in the family are kind of rallying around Rulad at Bran's Keep as they kind of make their march, conquering Letheris and heading toward Letheris in particular, the city. And we have this kind of interesting family scene. We find out that Mayan is ill, and we have this amazing moment where Rulad apologizes to Fear for taking his betrothed.
Look, I thought it was so dope when I did that, but she actually doesn't like me that much.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Real, I mean, that's my bad. My bad. Because I thought she was making the flirty eyes at me, and so I was like, I'll just take that. And
this is actually what we both want.
She hates me, and turns out I don't really care for her either.
Yeah, it's when somebody hates you, you don't want to be around them, and so I'm really sorry.
So, like,
do you want
her back? Or
takesies backsies? Takesies backsies?
BT dubs.
One thing, slight complication. She is with child, and so if you do the takesies backsies, and there might be like judgment, like everybody is gonna know.
Yeah.
It's gonna fall on you to just deal with that because I'm not gonna help.
Sorry. Oh, one quick more thing. Oh, just one more quick thing is that she's also
the baby's on drugs, even
addicted to white nectar. Baby's addicted to white nectar. But
Yikes.
like, you could be its dad. It's such a sad, heartbreaking scene, and Fear is just like, I will take on that responsibility. I will. Did
he say yes? I thought he said. I thought he repeated his understanding of what the situation was, but they didn't actually get to Fear being like, I'll do it.
My reading was that he like makes a vow to take on the child and raise it as his own, and like it's just so heartbreaking that Fear is constantly, disrespected, taken advantage of by Rulad, and yet is always there doing the right thing of like, oh yeah, I'll take Mayan back. I truly love her. I will raise the child. It's just like, oh my God.
I loved that scene because, there's an immediate tension from, we've seen Trell bring up Mayan a couple times, and Fear's like, you say her name again, I'm killing you. Don't ever talk about it. And so immediately with Rulad being like, oh, by the way, Mayan, there's like, ooh, this is like we know it's such a deeply sore subject, but also is it they're the moment being like, is this the thing that snaps Fear out of whatever he's in and puts him in a bad spot? Does he get strapped to a rock and we just don't know that he gets strapped to a rock before Troll gets strapped to a rock? Whatever. And the only way, like, the words he says are measured and he's listening, but the slackness in his hand of almost dropping the wine, and that being Troll's detail of just helping him and writing the wine, and Fear just looking at him and nodding, is like, Rulad's too far gone to really understand the pain, even though he's trying to apologize. He really doesn't understand how brutal what he did.
Yeah.
Was
he is this child who's just like, I took your toy do you want it back? I broke it a little bit, but you want it back. It's
Mhm.
just so immature and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because Fear understood and Trull understood at every moment what was happening.
Mhm.
And Roulade, in his immaturity and hubris, is just like,
Yeah.
I broke. I don't want it anymore. It doesn't like me.
And
It's
I
like,
do think
ugh.
I do think he's like the remorse in this, it doesn't feel like it's coming down in like that's fine, right? I'm sorry. It
Yeah,
does feel like it's coming from a place of he's like, I hurt you and I know I did, but it still is like that apology is not scratching the surface of the pain that you
right.
caused.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have this really cool foreshadowing moment where Trull moves over to Udanos, is like, hey, don't ever betray him, right? You're not going to betray him.
Mm.
You can't betray him. And Udanos was like, I would never. I mean, there's a rival inside me that might, but I wouldn't.
It's interesting that like Trull, the scenes like when we're like really with Trull, he seems so like good.
Yeah. Well, I think he thinks of himself as an honorable man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there are times where it's like one step away and you hear somebody else describe him, or at this moment where it's like, because when we're with Udanos also feels good.
Yeah.
When you're hanging
Right.
in his brain. And then seeing them together and Udanos being like, all right, this one of Roulade's brothers who like left him for dead. And like, I'm his only friend. What do you want? Are you telling me not to betray him? Okay, man. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there is that spike in tension of both of these characters that feel good when you're with them, both feeling like a little bit snippy and nasty in that scene that I really liked.
I also love how it ends with them all sort of being a family for a moment. They're all like laughing and joking around by the end of the scene, like the old times, you know, and it's just, it's so grotesque in a way, you know, that he's sitting there with his gold on and as the emperor, but they're just trying to recreate this simple familial dynamic that is gone. It's gone. You can't you know.
Well, I actually polled, I think, for one of my favorite sentences. Trull thinks it's like we're sitting there and we're joking, and it's not that it's been like long gone. It's that this was never there.
Right.
This connection was never there.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here and we are for like just this moment. Oh, well, I think it's that they for a glimmer found something that they were never able to find before because of their social structures, because Roulade was unblooded, and then these other two are like the badass warriors from the village or whatever. And so I think they found a moment that they were not able to find, and for just a bit, all they were was brothers for like just this minute. Yeah, I love that scene.
Beautiful. Then we quickly check in with Saren and the Crimson Guard, and they're like getting back to her house. And Iron Bars is like, I'm going to walk you to your door. She's like, I'm fine. It's cool. And she's like, no. I'm going to walk you to your door. So that's where we'll return to that.
And then he's like,
no. Okay.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm going to go. Sorry. I thought this was okay. Sorry. Nothing.
That's funny. And then Brees and the king, this dude, I love this stuff about we haven't quite got to the stuff I love yet, but basically Brees is trying to get ready the chamber because they're going through with this ceremony, and he sends a messenger to Tehal saying, hey, I got one word for you, or two words for you, Garen Ebericht. Go tell him. And he meets up with Morok Navath. And Morok is like, hey, do you believe in gods? This guy asked me to murder one, and I don't really know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
I don't really know what to do next. And it's this is a moment that I think is interesting and I feel like it's like palace intrigue
Yeah.
in the sense it's like something happened and somebody asked me to do something. What do you think about that? And I feel like other places would have been like, Trudel Brazad asked me to kill a god that's in a temple. Like when they would have just said what's up, and instead it was like somebody told me to do something. What do you think? He's like, I think that you should follow your heart.
Like, how do you feel about, I don't know, just off the top of my head, gods?
I also love, I mean, jumping ahead a bit, the idea that Marok Navath could have killed it.
Yeah, I know.
Is it that I have a bad opinion of Morok?
I think so, because he's set up earlier in the novel as being almost as good as the champion. Like he could have been the champion, the king's champion, if not for Breeze.
We only see him be a big baby.
I know. Now he does seem ridiculous that he would even think that he could kill you. But we'll get to it. But I like later where he's like, wait, didn't somebody ask me to do? I'm not going to do that.
Whatever. That's crap. That's crap.
All right. Then we have this delightful scene. Delightful, incredible, one of my favorites. Back to Trull, and they're on their way to do this task. There's this thing that has been unleashed that they have to take care of. And they're bringing the demons. They're bringing their demon muscle with them. Yeah. And these two demons, the demon brothers, demon brothers who behave like my two kids. If you ask them to leave the house at any time, you ask my 7-year-old, my soon-to-be 8-year-old, and my 6-year-old to leave the house. They're basically the demon brothers.
It's like, we're walking. Oh yeah, you are walking. I've been trying to move faster than that, but I can't because you're in front of me. Like this, so
chef's kiss perfection. Just the idea to make these demons like we smell bad stuff. All right. And then the way that they're just goofy and it's just so fun. It's so fun.
I forget if he says like he's hungry. It's like, well, you should have ate before we left. And then it's like, oh, do you smell that? It's making me sick. It makes me want to puke. It's like, well, you should have started puking before we left. It's like, it's so good.
It's so good. So good. We call that in my house saving a trip. If you have to pee before you leave the house. It's called saving a trip. Mm-hmm. Save the trip. My kids, no, I don't need to. Just do it. Kids.
I want to ruin trip.
I just absolutely love this scene. But then it even gets better because they do find the thing that has been unleashed. And it's a Forquerel sail named Serenity. Serenity now.
Another peaceful name for an
real scary thing.
Beastie.
Yeah. And Serenity's like, I don't like you. I think you guys you invite discord and I must kill you. And then this fight scene is so rad. Sorry, go ahead.
I like that portrait of a sinister character. We saw the glimmer with Calm.
Yeah.
And then the chunk at the beginning of the chapter, that pre-chapter stanza thing.
Poetry.
Not quite a limerick, but talking about the idea of being like this thing, looking around and being like, somebody says there's peace. There's in this space, the only way to invite peace is to make peace where you are, and you are disturbing me, so I will kill you. It's like so dissonant in this.
Yes.
These two ideas so close together.
Yes.
I could just, it's like a cacophony in my brain of being like, ooh, there's a spooky thing because it thinks it's doing something that sounds nice, but is doing something nasty.
It's a really cool ideology for the whole Forquerel sale. It's like they're like, we just want everything to be nice and we will make it so with violence.
Yes. Yeah.
But the fight scene too is just next level. The way the multi-jointed thing can flow and move around. I mean, I just see it in my head on the big screen. This incredible. They're swinging their and it's leaping back 8 paces and just moving like water around them, able to, bend and contort. It's just so cool.
Oh yeah.
So cool.
And like, so I'm like, oh, finally we see them move. Like we saw Calm kind of get up and be like, bye. And like, saunter away or whatever. But like every single time it's like, it's got too many joints in its arms. I'm like a spider? Like what does that mean? It's cool to see it come around.
It's like a horror movie, it's like this creature from a horror movie that just, Troll almost gets his head snapped. If he just was slightly different, his head would have been snapped. It's just like they're completely outclassed by this thing. And then just by chance, because the demons, can get it off balance for a moment, then he could throw a couple of spears into it. I also love the moment of Udnas running up with spears. Like, I got spears for you, master. So great. And I also love that the demons at the end are like, can we go after it? I really want to go after it. Please let us go after it.
And then we can get it something to eat. Oh my God.
So amazing. And it murders our boy Rulad. And then we immediately cut to him washing up on the shore. Oh, back alive. It is so wonderfully Groundhog Day at this point. Every time he wakes up on the beach and Withal is there like, he's back. And he wakes up, he's like, oh, you have a lady friend now? And he's like, it's a long story.
Doesn't he wake up and he call that he calls her like a betrayer or something like that? Does he recognize
he does call her the betrayer. Well, it's because
not the betrayer, a betrayer.
Well, she's Tistendi, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why he would think that, because he's
But him waking up and he's like, you're with a betrayer?
Yeah.
And he's like, we are not together. And she's like, let me say it. We are not together. And he's like,
are you guys sleeping together? And she's like, they're like, no.
And then Rulad's like, where's my sword? And just like goes back. It's old news now. Give me the sword.
It's just so great. It's like the second act of Groundhog Day where he's just like dying and coming back and dying and coming back. And it's so great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So Kuru Khan, we got back with Brees, and Kuru Khan is refusing to move off the floor. Part of what I love so much about these chapters is this masterful sense of tension. This tension of like, we're building to something. And him so wonderfully moving the chess pieces slowly across the board. And you're like, I know Kuru Khan is up to something. And we've been teasing it. And he's like, everybody says, where's the Seta? Where's the Seta? Why is he not unleashing his amazing power? And what's he doing? And he's like, obsessing. And it's just so, you have this sense of foreboding of like, what are we building to? It's very satisfying.
It's great. And especially because like he's on this tile, and like, I think the last time we saw them, he was like, count these tiles for me. Which one's the middle one?
Yeah.
Just double checking. And now he's like, it's my tile.
Yeah.
Away. The king must step around me.
The king's got to walk right here. He's like, make him walk around.
He's like, it's his special walk. Yeah. He doesn't want to step around you on his special walk.
Yeah. So funny. And I love so very much the idea that this king, the prophecy said, the 7th closure is happening. We figured out it's today, so I'm doing it.
Yes.
It's like Nero fiddles while Rome burns, that old chestnut. It feels very much like that. He's fiddling while Rome is burning. Letharis is literally falling, and he's like, I'm the emperor.
Yeah.
The prophecy said today's the day.
Did we know that the 7th closure meant that they're just going to put a crown on his head and be like, he's emperor now?
Well, I think
they
there's
were like
much
the
more
7th
to
closure. I think there's much more to it, but I think this piece of it was not something I was aware of, and it feels so impotent in the face of everything, like
Yeah.
exactly as you're describing, but like so funny to be like seventh closure, and they're like, and now he's emperor. Everybody, I guess the 15 people who are allowed to be here, clap, please clap. Is
It's
like
so funny.
just ridiculous. It's
It's
ridiculous.
like outside the door, murders, death, destruction, the fall of your kingdom. And he's like, today is a great day. I'm now the emperor. All hail disconnect.
And
So
I just
funny.
love that they were like, seventh closure. We will say it's not like not a science per se of when it is, but we're going to say, yeah, it's definitely today because tomorrow we'll be dead, but it's definitely today. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter that we're going to be dead tomorrow. Today is definitely the day.
Yeah, it's
And then
gotta be today.
Immediately cut you to the guy, the consort, being like, oh, it's 2 days from now. Bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Ooh. Missed it by that much.
Yeah.
All right. We have a quick scene with Saren coming home. She arrives at her home, and the streets are littered with dead bodies. It's not the greatest homecoming you could have hoped for. She walks into the house. There's a dead owl in her living room for some reason.
Smash its way through the window.
Thought that was interesting. And she just kind of is like, well, I made it here. This is not great.
Well, here's my chair. And then she's like, it's the saddest chair.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have that scene you just referenced with Turadal Brizad, where it's sort of in his POV, which is interesting in and of itself. And we find out for sure, that Turadal is the errant, who we've heard people using as a curse, like, errant take me, errant this, errant that. Like, big deal, the errant.
When I was like, oh, is he something? I didn't like, oh, the name from the book of the god that, or like God, some kind of ascended something.
Yeah.
Just, oh, there he is. Interesting. And then who was it? Who's like, it's probably the next scene, but it's very interesting to be like, oh, he's that guy. And then me being like, do we know more about what the errant is other than the curse that people have been using? I don't think, do we?
I think there was stuff in some of those tile castings that the Featherwitch did at the beginning of the book that referenced the errant in very specific ways, but that I didn't hold on to at the time because
I was like, I barely know what the errant is. It'll matter later.
Yeah.
And now it does. And I'm like, well, I don't remember what she said. Okay. Sorry.
My little cheat sheet here says the errant was, quote, eternally mysterious purveyor of chance, fateful circumstance, and ill-chosen impulses.
Oh, well, that's something to be said about the crowning of the emperor.
I mean, that makes sense if you're like a concubine, basically. That makes sense. Ill-chosen impulses. So bells are ringing throughout the city. Hooray, the seventh closure. So funny. So funny. We end chapter 2 with Turadal Brizad, the errant, going, boy, it's a real unfortunate that they missed the seventh closure day. They got it wrong. Very unfortunate. So chapter 23 begins in Bran's Keep back with Rulad and Udnas. And Udnas and Featherwitch have this awkward scene again. She still hasn't come around on him, but
she hasn't not come around. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's fair. Yeah. She's still kind of being a little mean to him, but they talk about Mayan and how Uruth is sort of taking care of her or protecting her, but basically just because of the kid, just because she's pregnant.
I love in the scene where Udnas says something and she's like, well, you're stupid. And he's like, what? And she's like, I don't know how I said that. I'm sorry. And he's
just
like,
habit. I just
okay. And she's like, you're not indebted anymore. And he's like, yeah, so. And she's like, nothing.
Yeah. I also like how they they're like, everybody's different, right? Is it me or is everybody different? And they're like, yeah, no, everybody's different. They all have fire behind their eyes. And Not good.
Not good, but also I love. They've mentioned it before, but in how it it was reflected on both sides of the Letheras and the Edir folk, all sort of just like losing it, like in like the bloodlust. It's like, oh, what is our society if like the minute these things happen, everybody just turns into monsters? But the fact that the Edir really are like changing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
yeah, this is getting closer to the Edir that we've already met before. Where it's
Right.
like, why are they so mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have Udnas specifically calling out Trull as being the one who is maybe different from those.
Mhm.
The only person he sees that's not being a tyrant.
Mhm.
So then we have a number of scenes in a row of war, the final battle.
Mhm. Is
Eh,
it?
What?
Is it? I don't know if it's the final battle. It's the battle.
Well, this is the
big one.
the big one. Yeah, we were led to believe that the everything would be decided in this moment, and it's just an unleashing of magics.
Yes.
I equated this to almost a metaphor for weapons of mass destruction,
Yeah.
because we have multiple point of views of seeing these incredible pillars of dust and fire and this destruction on a catastrophic scale.
Mhm.
And we also are inside people's POVs of them saying, this isn't even fighting.
Yeah.
There's no honor in this. There's no, even the winners are looking around and going, what have we wrought? What have we unleashed?
Mhm.
This isn't even war anymore. It's just slaughter.
Yeah. I thought it was so well done, this scene, and the various different perspectives we have of different people clearly horrified
Yeah.
by what's happening. And just like the numbers they're rattling off are like difficult to parse. They're like tens of thousands of people just getting swept up into pillars, the flesh ripped from their bones until it's the bone pillars again. Like we saw those pillars and we're like, oh, there's a bunch of bones in them for some reason, because I think they were on like an old battlefield, so they tore it up. And then now it's like, oh, where those bones come from? Well, the pillars make the bones out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a super effective scene that in the end of it being like, we thought we were going to be honorable conquerors here. And in the end, we don't even have people now.
Right.
We've just destroyed
it's just
that
genocide. We're just wiping them from the face of the planet. And it did resonate to me, as this metaphor for modern warfare and the ability to kill on a scale that is just kind of unfathomable, where we have these, these bombs, these things that can wreak havoc. And it is impersonal. It is almost, detached from the reality of it. You just sort of unleash it and it does its thing. And then that's what I love, the idea of magic as being this force that you unleash, and now it just sort of goes and you have no control over it. And it was a very powerful scene in that way of making me reflect on, war in any sense is horrible, but there's something somehow more horrible about not having to stand in it and look in the eyes of your enemy,
It also, I think, changes the perspective of, I know we were talking about an earlier battle of, having these mages on both sides. They cancel each other out for whatever reason. They're both there. It feels, everybody's like, we both have them.
Yeah.
Where they're either all just trying to hold the defensive line while the rest of the war is happening. And I think you're drawing that line between magic and the weapons of mass destruction. I mean, that's what it feels like it has. We got him. You got him.
Yeah.
So don't mess with us.
Yeah.
But we're not using them. But we could.
But if we do use them, it's this.
Yeah.
Right? It's everybody dies.
And if you don't have them, or you don't have strong enough ones, guess what? Now you're dead. And we have to live with the consequences of that.
Also a pretty powerful moment, I thought, with Udnas sort of standing there and seeing the wall of flame coming toward him and sort of being okay with dying. Like, this is perfect, I think he says.
Yeah. It's like,
And
no time to get out of the way. I don't even
Yeah.
want to.
yep, here we go. This is perfect. Sweet release. And then the Eater women stop it to their death, to their
Yeah.
like save him to their peril. And I thought that was powerful too.
Powerful. And then him being like, okay,
Yeah.
Feather Witch, you go help the women. And she's like, are you serious? He's like, they just saved your life. And she's like,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. He has that great line where he's like, well, I guess not perfect then.
Yeah.
I guess I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he interacts with Hull Benedict.
And that's the other thing. I think we missed it in like the conversation with Trull, where Trull's like side-eyeing him, and Udnas is like, you think that this is what I wanted? You think I've manipulated this situation such that I wanted to be here?
Right.
You think this is the choice that I would have made for myself? It's not.
Right.
And we see the choice that he would make for himself torn away from him.
Yeah. Yeah. Hull Benedict's whole situation in this, it feels almost background, but if you like stare at it and think about what he's gone through and his journey, it's so heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And like, he could be the star of his own novel. Like, it is it's a wild arc for him, you know, this guy who has this extreme guilt for subjugating these people and then betrays his own people but goes through all this and sees all this. It's just, I find him to be a very compelling character, but also he kind of recedes to all the other great grandiose things that are happening in the foreground.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is interesting to have such impactful things happening like right there. And it's like, well, there's bigger things we have to deal with. And it's like that this guy's whole, I feel like his perspective is, I don't know, very balanced in the imbalance in a way, having like seen the extremes of like both sides.
Yeah.
And like even him, the person who feels like I had a choice taken away from me before because I didn't know that these things were happening and I was complicit in it. But I'm making this choice now. And then him being like, oh God, the choice I made was so bad. Maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's just somebody who's trying to balance the scales, right? Trying to do the right thing. And it just, he's chewed up in the machinery of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you he's incapable of writing it. It's beyond him, you know, it's outside his capacity to affect, you know, it's very, I find it very moving. And again, he's not even like the central figure here, but if you look at it and think about him anyway, a really cool scene up next with Trull, and this Sergeant Kenarth, who walks up and starts insulting Alrada, which is very funny because Alrada and Trull have beef, you know, and Trull's like, all right, man, I'm done with this. We're dueling. He's like, okay, I will murder you.
Finally, yeah, but actually I wanted this.
Yeah, and also when I'm done murdering you, I'm gonna murder him.
Yeah.
And Trull just knocks him out.
Just bops him.
And refuses to kill him. And he's like, don't tell anybody about this, but I just put that dude in his place. Boom.
I really also love that they're like, he's not going to forget. And he's like, fine.
Yeah.
Do you see what just happened? I really like that guy being just such a jerk and just Trull being so good at fighting.
Yeah.
Like, cause like when we were meeting him and he's hanging out with Onrak, you know, Onrak seems like the badass and he's so Phoebe because he was strapped to a rock for who knows how long, right?
Right.
And so we don't I think we get one little glimmer of him doing something cool, but we don't really see a lot of it. And then seeing him just in his prime being like, you try and stab me, you're doing something fancy, I'm going to come in and clock you.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. And just constantly being described as this unbelievable badass. I can't wait to revisit him in present day. And
I
see
know.
him get back there.
I know. I could have this completely wrong, but I think this entire novel is him telling a story to Onrak, right? Like this
Yeah.
entire novel is his like, I'll tell you the story at the end of the last book. And this is, we got an entire novel of his story, which is so rad.
Oh, so good.
It's so cool. So I can't wait for, I mean, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I assume that at some point we're going to come back and I'll be like, so anyway, that's what happened.
So, and then you act up. The rest is history.
All right. So then we have another really fun scene where Udanos is heading over back to Rulad, but Rulad's got this sort of the old boys, the old gang of advisors. And they're all walking up this hill to go meet Rulad, and they're like, "Not you, Pipsqueak!" And they push him down the hill. and Rulad's like, "Who pushed my friend down the hill?" And Udanos is like, I don't know.
The guy was like, "We bumped into each other."
Yeah.
And
I'm not
Udanos
gonna
was
squeal.
like, "Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened."
Yeah. Very cool. Very funny. And then Benatas comes back. Benatas! Hey, comes back, kneels before Rulad. And they're basically saying that a lot of people got murdered. He's like, Benatas, whose side are you on? He's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He's like, did you see all that sorcery? He's like, oh no, we were fighting like normal fight over there.
Well, just before this happened, if I recall, Udanos saw from a distance that there's going to be like the convergence of these brothers and Hanan Mosag, and he'd recognized that this was not. I think the initial implication would be like, oh, this is Rulad's terrible magic, and it's like it's not Rulad's magic. This is Hanan Mosag's magic that he's using. And he's like, I got to hear whatever this conversation is. And he gets up there and you can tell Rulad is about to like probably execute Hanan.
Yeah.
Right. And he's the one who's like, come down, hold on 1 second. Your brothers are on their way. They need to see that you did not want this.
Right.
They need to see that this was not your intent, because they are the ones who will basically calm everybody else down from this nightmare that we all just watched, which is horrible. Nobody liked seeing that except for maybe Hanan, who's like, sorry.
I don't think he says sorry.
He doesn't say sorry at all.
I wanted
he's
this to
like,
happen. Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't mean to skip over that you're right. It's a huge moment where basically Rulad is like, I wanted them to be my subjects.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wipe them out. Like, we were bringing them into the fold and having prosperity for all. Like they were part of my new kingdom, my new empire. And you vaporized them, dude. Not cool.
Yeah.
And so he's like, literally like lifting the sword to strike Hanan Mosag down. And Udanos says, wait. And he's like, what? You're gonna talk to me? And he's like, I just wanted to tell you your brothers are here.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
And then I love after that when Udanos is like, why did I do that? I want Hanan Mosag dead too. Why did I stop him?
And I just, that Udanos's like nuance of language of saying the right things that he knows are not like going to get him in too much trouble. But then him also observing Rulad's immediate pivot in strategy when his brothers get up there, and like still using sort of the structures of their culture of basically Hanan being like, if I may, and him being like, you may not. Like just sort of like dismissing him being like the greatest insult versus killing him, which would have seemed like unjust for him to do or whatever. Like it's him leaning into that culture and bringing his brothers closer and being like, this is everybody. We will mourn this day. And whatever bodies we can find when the what's his name, Benatas comes back and he actually saw signs of battle, he's like, tell me what happened. And he's like, yeah, we fought, we lost people obviously, but we fought valiantly and we won the day over our side. It was still a decisive victory. But the fact that wherever he was fighting they fought, he's like, that is the way that this should have been done. Now let's collect the bodies of any of the bodies. We're burying them together. And people are like, excuse, or his dad is like, excuse me, together? And he's like, are they not our subjects?
Yeah, I love that because we've been building up Roulade as this kind of despot and under the thumb of the crippled god and succumbing to these horrible tendencies, but there's still this sort of honor in him.
Yeah,
he wanted to be emperor in a in a good way. Like I wanted to conquer, but like good conquer.
I do feel like it's sort of like the crippled god's whole thing is like, you don't even have to believe me. I'm still here.
Yeah.
And so his like light touch emperorness, feels like it's something that Roulade is embodying.
Right. But it also I think beautifully illustrates that notion, the pure farce of that notion of like, no, but we'll do this in a good way. They'll welcome us as liberators.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't happen like that.
No, it does not. Okay, so chapter 24. Chapter 24 starts with POV of the demon spirit god. Just a killer scene of it, like just going, oh, there's a heart in the water that they don't know I'm gonna get, and then I will be the most powerful demon god ever.
I'll be free. Just being there is gonna break my sorcerer's chains, and as soon as these chains are broken, oh baby, it's over, y'all.
Sick. I'm gonna be awesome. I'm gonna be so powerful. I'm gonna be like more powerful than like 6 gods.
You think I'm powerful right now in these chains, bro?
They don't even know. They don't even know what's waiting for me in the river. And also, water is awesome. Then we check back in with Tehal. Tehal and Shirk are back with our girls Slush, getting all done up again, and he's like, "That's just a beautiful
love your cork, love your cork."
Your forehead cork.
Just she's like, delightful. I don't know. He's like, you can't even see it's not semen. She's like, except for when I frown.
She says it puckers when she frowns.
Oh my gosh. The image I have.
No, totally. So good. Just amazing. Then we have all this stuff about Slush being like, "Oh man, it's my new line, the Dead Thief of the Night line." It's very funny.
Dead Thief of the Night line, and her being like, "Oh, these Adira are coming. We all know that they're gonna win." Ugh. And now, what gray skin is convenient fashion? Come on, whatever. I'm working on it.
Working on it. She's gonna make it happen, no matter what.
Yeah.
Then we check back in at the Eternal Domicile with Brees and the new Emperor. Discanar, who is literally asleep on the throne. They're just sitting there waiting to be murdered, and it's taking so long. Everybody's asleep. It's so funny.
There's like the tension in the room still. Like the first concubine is there, like he's afraid and he's tired, and she's clearly like been. Like, how long has it been? Like, what, they're up for a day or so now? Just like sitting there waiting. Everybody like bleary eyed, falling asleep, just coming over to these, like, Brees going through and like trying to take care of people. King's champion, have a nap. Everybody,
so funny.
We're
just all waiting for the invading army to come in and find out who's murdered. And the first eunuch is like, they're going to murder me. And Brees is like, well, maybe not. You know stuff. They might not murder you. And Nifidus is like, yeah, that's true. They're definitely murdering you, though. You're the champion. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, they have, like, because they want to murder the king. And so that kind of means they have to murder you. Like,
maybe I'll get out.
All of us know that you have to die.
And then he walks out into the where Kurukan is and sees Garen Eberict there, like about to murder Kurukan. And he's like, "Do not do that, dude. The king's leave has limits.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to kill the Seda." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "If you had been here 10 heartbeats later, this dude would be dead."
I would have. And he's like, "Aren't you supposed to be guarding something?" He's like, "What? I put all the guards there. What am I supposed to do? Just stand there?" He's like, "Command them?" He's like, "Ugh."
Well, I love how he's like, "I intend to get out of this alive." I'm not going to, you're the moron who's staying in here and is going to give your life for nothing to just die before that guy dies. You're just a domino. I'm not going to be an idiot. I'm going to go and try to survive this whole thing.
Well, he's like, I'm not going to be an idiot, but first I have an errand.
Yeah.
And then however Brees looks back at him, he's like, I knew it.
So good.
He looks back at him and he's like, Teal. I mean, sorry. Like something about the way they look at each other just gives him enough validation in whatever he's going to try and do to try and get revenge for his money loss.
Yeah, going after Tehal. Then we check back in with Bug. There's this ridiculous moment where he's on the roof. There's this artist like painting it. And he's like, let me see your painting. It's just two colors. Like, what?
It's
very funny.
There's no way this is the same artist as like Lade.
I thought that too, but no, that artist was actually good and had a name, and I think that this is just a different artist.
Yeah, this is just a different guy.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on who Bug is yet?
Somebody. For sure, somebody.
There's the way there's a couple things that he said recently that I have a thought.
All right.
I feel like he's definitely in the God zone.
Agreed.
And he sure makes a lot of references to water. And I know that's like the book thing. I think he's male.
I thought that too. And because we've had with all praying so intensely to male.
Mm-hmm. And male's doing something. So
I
male's
had that passing thought. I felt like there would be some clue, some watery
him
clue.
Like, I mean, him being like charging like the ocean. That's me.
Yeah. It could very well be. Could very well be.
The only thing
definitely somebody. He talks to the errant like they're peers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I think, you were picking up on it much earlier than I, but it's undeniable now that like Bug is
a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. So he goes down to talk to the errant, and he's like, "Wow, mother God!" The errant Turadal Brizet is like, so I asked this dude Morak to murder a god, and like
that was like 10 minutes ago.
I think he's a no-show.
Yeah.
I think I made a terrible mistake.
Oh gosh. But he's like just leaning against the thing, being like, yeah.
He told me he would be here to murder a god for me. And he's not. It's like, I've been waiting.
Well, go ahead, sorry.
He's like, hey, Bug, you got any suggestions of I don't know, a replacement? It's so funny.
Replacement god killers just on hand?
Anybody good? Bug's like, I got just the guys. The guys.
I forgot this thing in the temple. And thinking about it, I didn't realize it was like a god. It was just like a beastie.
Yeah. Well, I also feel like it was kind of, didn't Bug be like, just stay here. Just stay here.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. It wasn't like, I'm going to murder you.
My impression was like, you're going to hurt people.
Yeah.
So don't come out of here.
Yeah.
And I forget if there was like some implied like, or I'm going to do something about it. But it just seemed like, I mean, in retrospect, I guess Bug's just like, yeah, I know who you are. Just stay here.
Yeah.
No reason.
Yeah. So then he walks right over to the ship that the Crimson Guard are getting onto. And Shand also is there. And he sort of knew that they were going to be there. And they're like, how did you know we were going to be there? And he's like, I guess the push of the errant. But I kind of feel like it's not the push of the errant. I think it's Bug with superpowers. And
you knew that they were on the water.
Knew they were on the water. And he's like, hey, Iron Bars, can you go kill a god for me? And Iron Bars is like, yeah, it won't take long. No
like
problem.
Corla? Anybody else?
Easy peasy.
Right, let's go.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. No problem.
Yeah.
Killing a god. That's what old Iron Bars is here for.
Yeah. He's like the Jet god? Nice. We can deal with some puppet dogs.
Yeah. So then we have a quick scene back with Trull. Roulade is tells Udnas to go under Uruth's responsibility to keep him safe. Then we're back with Hulbedict, who is going in with the second company of Idur. He's like, oh man, I gotta go find my brother. Not my one brother who I know is gonna die.
And that's fine. I've accepted. It's a bummer, but like he's gotta.
Yeah.
Even
Sorry.
he is like, I mean, he is the king's champion.
He made his choice. But that other brother, Tehal, I gotta try to get some sense of forgiveness.
There is like such a sadness to me to that moment, not only because Hull is clearly feeling so many feelings, but like Hull, I feel like is teed up to be incredibly competent.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And the way that Brees obviously very competent, but he doesn't have like his street smarts. And Tehal always teed up by, I think, both of his brothers being Tehal.
Yeah.
Tehal being Tehal. Right. And then something about Hull now being like, I have to explain to somebody and say I'm sorry.
Why I did all this. Yeah.
And then going to Tehal, the person that they sort of like talk down to, look down upon, having like put this blight on the Bedict name for being a criminal or a destitute, is like, there's like a sadness in like where Hull's emotional state is. That just, I feel like that's a moment where you see like really how deeply he's hurting to me.
Yeah, agreed. And then we're back with Udnas, who he's like, uh-oh, I feel something inside me. It's the Wyval.
It's dragon time, baby.
Wyvals wobble, but they don't fall down.
So he's like, well, I wish, I'm trying to think of like, I can't think of the word, but like, yeah, it's an anamorph situation. Where it's like,
yeah, I think so.
He's the cover of that book turning into a Wyval.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, American Werewolf in Paris situation. Speaking of werewolves or wolves, then we have a really brief, but I think utterly brilliant moment where we're in the POV of Banaga, the Jek, and like out of nowhere, it's revealed like Banaga had some plans.
Yeah.
He's
which
like,
makes sense. To me, I was like, the Jek are just like, yeah, man, we're here now too. We're on your side.
We'll help. We've been fighting against you and like trying to kill you off in the snowy waste of the north, but now we'll help. And it's like it all comes. This is why these books are so friggin' brilliant, because everybody's got an angle.
Yeah,
everybody's got an angle.
No one is shallow.
Like, it's going to be awesome is we're going to get back to our god, and then we'll murder all the Idur, eat their brains. It's going to be such good eating and fun times.
So it's a delicious plan. Deserves a delicious meal.
I'm brilliant. I'm Banaga. Nothing could go wrong with this plan. Onward. So we check in with Morak Navath, who's like, I'm gonna fight, and people are gonna watch, and it'll redeem me for being a coward earlier. Also, like, that guy wanted me to do something. What was it?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, whatever.
I don't care. I don't want to do it.
This whole moment for show for him, of him seeing the Idur coming and him being like, awesome, finally. Yeah. Is there an audience? Is everybody looking at me? And him like even looking down and seeing that the Idur approaching him is the Emperor, and he's like, this is my time to show them. Emperor, is everybody listening? I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight him. He's mine, everybody. Back off. Yeah. It's like
so good. It's like, such a great character moment of a side character, but you get this insight into what makes him tick. It's just great. And I also love where he's like, oh, that's the Emperor that when you kill him, he comes back. But I'm going to kill him.
For real.
Dismember him. And I had that moment reading where I'm like, I wonder what would happen if somebody did that.
Yeah. I guess he just like
that's kind of a good plan, actually. Yeah. Like Does he wake up with no arms? I don't. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't get to find out.
Yeah, we don't quite get there.
No.
I mean, he kills him pretty good. He like
Pretty
snaps
good.
his spine.
I mean, if by pretty good you mean he also dies.
Yes.
I mean, that's not the ideal situation.
I didn't say that he didn't die pretty good, but he did kill pretty good too. It's just one of them came back to life, so it's not that good of a kill.
Yeah. I also love that we're in Morok's POV as in the fight of him getting killed.
It's like,
and
worth
they're like,
it. So worth it.
This is exactly what I was hoping for.
Everybody thinks I'm a badass, they know they've honor.
And it's such a rad ending where they're like, is that guy the King's champion? Did we just kill the King's champion? And Morok's like, can't talk because he's literally his throat is slit. He's like, oh, just you wait. King's champion is even better than me.
I'm like, I guess I'm happy for you, man.
So good. And then, Roulade is like, oh, I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
He murdered me again. We're back at it. Let's do this. And he's like, I need Udnas. Udna, every time I wake up, I need to see my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And cut to Uruth, who's like, where's the slave? Where is he?
Mm-hmm.
Paying off the foreshadowing before of never betray him.
Mm-hmm. I love it because, I mean, he's anamorphed. He's Wyvil form now. So he's not betrayed him. He's like, I'm a Wyvil. I'm out.
Yeah.
And so he
right.
pieces out, but like, he's not betraying him. He could have like flown away and been like,
that to Roulade.
I
He's
know.
not going to believe,
Well,
or
I
Uruth,
know.
for that matter.
Like how? Oh yeah, because no matter what, he's going to show up and be like, "I'm here, guy." He's like, "What? You're a dragon. You're not." Like no matter what, he's betrayed him because he can't. Yeah. I assume he's not like a soul taken. He's just a Wyvil now.
Well, even if he de-Wyvils in some way, he shows up and they're like, "Well, why weren't you here when I called you?" And he's like, "I Wyvilled. I can't. He can't say that."
I assume there's some amount of travel time though, right? Because he specifically was like, "Stay back with Uruth." And Ruth, unless the tents, are they like being following him close behind?
My prediction is this is the straw that breaks the Roulade back. This is the one thing that couldn't happen, that Troll recognized couldn't happen, that Udnas recognized couldn't happen. His one pillar of
sanity.
Sanity, yes. He grasped onto Udnas, but this one, and that, I think, again, speculation, I think that is exactly what the Wyvil wanted. The Wyvil it waited to the one moment where it would
matter.
The entire House of Cards come crashing down by pulling him away from Roulade.
I think that you are right. Because one of the things, I mean, we got one more chapter, and I've been like, there was a brief time where I guess through like the chapter of brotherly love, that I was like, maybe there's something extra dangerous that's going to happen, and Troll gets strapped to the rock out of like a perceived kindness from Roulade.
Oh, interesting.
No,
I think this is going to be.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Detachment from any kind of sanity. It's going to be his breaking point.
I didn't think about that at all, but I think I agree with that.
Anyway, so we cut quickly to Kettle at the Azath house, and the Toblakai are almost free. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the friend, Kettle's friend,
mm-hmm.
is trying to get out, and she's like, oh, he's like, help me. Legs being held by some woman who's pulling him back under the ground. He's like, give me my 2 swords.
Mm-hmm.
We know who has 2 swords.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are the swords that Brees got from Kuru Khan's stash.
Yep.
Yeah. Very, again, this wonderful setting of the table, this wonderful movement, slow, inevitable tension, building. Like it's all, he's so good at these convergence points, these everything from all the different angles that we've been looking at something, all moving to this explosion of convergence. It's just really cool.
It is really cool and very exciting. Like,
yeah,
it really feels like, that train engine starting, and then it feels like we're just sprinting through the end of this book. The chapters flew by.
I had a really hard time stopping.
Yeah.
This week.
Maybe next time we're just like, how long is that last chapter really?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to do it next week. But
yeah.
So then we have quickly are in Udenos's point of view as the Wyval. He literally has claw hands and he's going to murder some Zhek. He's going in search of his master. Do we know who his master is?
I thought that it was Rulad. Because he hears him.
I mean, the Wyval's master. That's
well, I still thought it was like Udenos, because he even says like, "Oh, my master's calling for me."
I interpreted that as the Wyval's master.
I interpreted it as Udenos's master, because he's like, he's calling for me, because that's the part where I was like, well, he hasn't betrayed him. He could have. I think he's like, I could just fly away. It doesn't matter. But then he's like, he's calling for me. I got to get to him. But there's some Zhek down there that needs the killing. So it's going to be 1 second. I'm going to be late, but I'm not. I'm going to be there.
Interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Then we're back at the temple with Turudal and Bug, and the Crimson Guard have been inside Reckon house. They come back out. Corlo has this companion who's I know you. I think I didn't even think about it as the wild, because it is like the Wyval's perspective, and I was just like, Udenos, maybe over near Kettle, that Wyval's going to go scoop him out of the ground. Oh, interesting.
Do you know?
Because I interpreted it as the Wyval's running away from Ulad toward its master. But we'll see.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, the Corlo comes out with this dead woman of the guard whose arm is hanging off, and it's like, hey, Errant, could you patch her up, please? Also, we thought they were going to be wolves, and it was lizard cats.
And they're like, we hate cats. They're the worst. Puppy dogs.
Cats.
Puppy dogs we can kill, but cats' claws are so sharp.
I love how this these epic dudes taking down this epic god in a very important way is just all like off camera.
All
like,
off camera.
We did it.
And
no
then
problem.
afterwards, they're like, is she dead? And they're like, yeah, sucks. Like, it's like, so it comes across as like pouty and annoyed more than like, we lost her,
Yeah. But then this other wolf comes flying, out of frame is how I imagined it, at least. And Iron Bar's like, grab, smash, kill, dead. And Bug's like, oh, by the way, that was Banaga, the head of the Zhek. You just murdered. He's like, did I? Huh. Seems like it should have been harder for me to do that.
Also, him just being like, for me, I thought he was just like, dogs.
Exactly.
We could have done dogs.
It's just how badass Iron Bars is all the time. Just this brand new dude. Although, is he maybe not brand new? Because Iron Bars goes, Bug is like, hey, by the way, that is an Azath house. And he's like, oh, a garden fet? Why would he say that? Obviously, it seems to me a reference to Gardens of the Moon, the fet at the end of that novel where we first see an Azath house in the garden.
Bro.
Why would he say that?
Bro. I did not think that. That's interesting.
You didn't think that?
Well, I did, but I was mostly I didn't think of it in like such a certain term like that, because I was thinking about it this morning, in that like trying to time place this book, right? Kellenved is emperor What is that? Where are we in the timeline on the Malazan Empire? So we know like it's after Kellanved at some point, but Trull, my thought was like when we met him, I thought he was strapped to the rock for like hundreds of years, but I think he's like in that warren, and so time passes differently. So maybe it was, but it's not actually that far back in like real time history. And so he said, a garden fete. My brain was like, oh, because like the houses are like look like trees. And then I was like, it's interesting that he'd say that. In my brain, I thought it's interesting that he'd say that because of the first time we saw it. But I didn't actually think it was the same thing because I had certain assumptions about the timeline. But I think I think you very well are right. I thought about Gardens of the Moon, but it just dismissed it entirely because of my own assumptions of time that could be entirely wrong because there's not enough context clues to actually place it.
Well, I have no idea what it means that he says that, but I can't imagine it's not a direct reference.
I can't imagine anything that would be randomly in French. Being
well,
like,
I mean, they call parties fetes in this world.
Yeah. So like randomly, like it was a special sentence. The way that it was said. So I can't imagine that not being significant, but just my state for whatever reason was like, yeah, cute, and like moved on. Like I was like, that's so funny because blah 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 blah, but not. There's no.
Dude, it hit me like a thunderbolt. I was like, "What? That is a full on referencing the first time we've seen his
and we know the Crimson Guard was there, right? Because was it the first book where they have they were like the snipers at the gates waiting for people to come back, and they were going to kill that person who was coming back from the desert, and then
is that
that person like got stabbed, and they were like, oh man, what the heck? Maybe it was Crocus. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it wasn't Crocus. Oh, my memory's so foggy. And then we see the Crimson Guard for like 1 second, and he like comes out of the dark, and he's basically like, and he's like, keep yourself safe out there, and then like pieces out. I think you're right.
There's something there. That's just it's too on the nose for it not to be a direct reference.
I think that you are totally right, because I'm pretty sure that's Gardens of the Moon, because they're like, oh, we got all the bombs in the street, and they're like running because the demon, and yeah, there's that moment that Crimson Guard is there for 1 second protecting that. I want to say it's Crocus, but I don't know for sure that it was Crocus. They kill that one assassin who was tailing that one person who I don't remember who it was. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does this ring any bells? Okay,
it rings bells, but I would need to go back. I'd have to go back and reread it because I don't.
You're so right. You're so sorry. You're so
I was like, does
right.
that mean Iron Bars is somebody we've already met?
I think, yeah, but we only met him for like 1 second. I don't think he said his name. He was like, Crimson Guard here. Watch your back.
All right. So then we're back with Brees and Kurukan, who's still muttering on the floor. And we have this incredible moment where he's like, Bug, friend Bug, do it now, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just so rad. So rad. And then Bug's like, sorry, guys, I got to go. Hey, I got to go. Just take care of something. I'll be right back. And then he calls out to the Jagged Huntress that he freed way back in whatever chapter that was.
I like I said, call him. He's like, make the call. And then it's like a game of telephone for a sec.
Yeah. It's like, now, all of our plans, now, execute. And we have, my interpretation is the Jagged Huntress freezes the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Freezes the water.
The swamp.
Yeah. That where the demon god, the spirit god is trying to get the heart.
Yeah.
And traps it.
So demon god swims on under the palace. And I feel like, I don't know if it was just when the demon god was talking about it, but describing like the fact that there's this big hole underneath the
Yeah.
city that is like the power of the city, or it's like perspective. It's like, that's like the secret of the city. People don't know about it, but I know about it. And he swims under there and he's like, all right, where is it? Where is that thing that I was, I don't see it anywhere. And then they start freezing it over and trapping it in this cavern. That the cavern's under the city, but there's not actually anything under there as far as I can tell. It's like a fabrication. My impression is that Kurokan has been channeling all his magic into making this thing think that there's something, like luring it into the water, thinking that all the power is there, but it's actually the Seda, and that's why he's right in the middle. He's the heart of the power of the city.
Right.
And
I didn't get that, but that might be it. Yeah.
And so he's like, I am putting myself down here and like sort of like throwing my voice, basically. I'm bait. So he's sitting there being bait and sort of hiding himself. My impression is that he's like sort of throwing his magic outward, and that's why everybody's like, where's the Seda? Nowhere. He's not anywhere, because he's sort of like playing dead in a way to draw this thing in so that they freeze it under the city. And he's even like, gotcha.
I love that gotcha thing. That's so cool. So cool. Yeah. So,
and like, that is like, everybody's like, what's the Seda going to do to defend this thing? Like, imagine if that demon got free, it would have destroyed everything. And are the Adur super powerful anyway? But it is like, that is magic counteracting some magic of something that we've seen the destruction it could possibly do in just like one heartbeat and trait.
It's a really cool thing because there's all this war happening, these two factions, and we think that is, the most urgent, terrible thing. And there's this other layer that's happening over the top of it, where the Seda is like, no, you don't understand. Whatever you guys are doing to each other, there's a bigger threat unleashed here. And I got to have all my attention on that.
The potential of it being unleashed.
Yes. I'm not going to be wasting my time worrying about the petty squabbles between these two factions. There are powerful beings that are still infinitely more powerful than all of the Eater and all of Letharos, converging here, about to try and do nasty things and get power in a way that will be way worse. The Jek and this demon thing all try to get power. No. That's our main mission, is to stop that from happening. And then everything else, what are you doing now? Cool suit. I don't understand how you conceive of this. I mean, we started this whole episode where I'm like, plot not as important to me. But like, this is plot layering that is, it just feels like there's enough with the other stuff. Adding that layer, it's almost a hat on a hat, but it's not, because it adds a level of cool that just feels like, well, how do you
thinking about every layer of the world that you've built. It's not like that you're living in this world where there's magical warrens and like the way that people draw magic, but then also different continents. There's different continents at play, different magic at play, different powerful beings at play, from gods to the merest mortals to the animorphs in between, and all are considered in this final convergence. It's not just the plot of the mortals and then being like, gods are around.
And everybody's got an angle. Everybody has concerns and goals and plots and schemes. It's just, it's an incredible level of complexity that all pays off in very satisfying ways.
And it's something, I mean, I haven't brought it up in a long time, but I will drag it back to my stance of trust in the reader that they can get it.
Yeah.
Trusting that when you are suddenly revealing that the Jek had plans of their own, that the reader's not like, what?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, dang, that's awesome. You know, And I think a lot of people would feel that the need to make those different books, and the need to make those different plots and not layer them in, and not because
Oh,
they would
yeah.
think that it would be distracting, or that somebody wouldn't get it, or that they would, as the writer, would have to pour so much time into it. But it's just a sentence in the mind of a character that we're never really with, and that's enough. That's enough.
Well, that's what I find so impressive about all of it, is the spinning of the plates through the entire novel. Is to reach this point is we learn about all these things, and all of them are interesting in the moment we learn about them, but they're also all building to something, right? And the confidence to know how much information to give, and when to spin that plate again, and when to check in on this element of the story, and the tapestry of it is just so dense and sophisticated that I'm in awe of it. I'm in awe of the number of things that have to all work throughout the whole thing to get to this moment, you know?
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm writing down.
I have a hard time.
My post-it of questions for next time we talk to Steven.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around the. Okay, and then we just got done lavishing praise, deservedly so, on the intensity, the sophistication, the commitment to turning the screws on all these epic plots. And how does he end the chapter? With Ersto Hubutt. Chef's kiss. Ersto Hubutt.
I said it before we started recording, but getting to this chapter and having just this name pop up in the first sentence in this last little section, as soon as I saw the name Ersto Hubutt, I thought, I don't know what's about to happen, but I know Jeff's about to love it.
We have room in this novel, in these novels, for the most epic, intense, soul-wrenching, powerful, violent, just like these. And then we have Ersto Hubutt. There's room for Hubutt.
There's room for Hubutt. It's a whole world. It's a whole world. Sometimes you get the Animander rake, and sometimes you get the Hubutt. That's just how it goes.
That's the other thing that I'm just in awe of. And I hate to be so fanboyish. I can't help it. The commitment to the world, and the commitment to each of these characters and their arcs, and making all of them land and feel important. But also, it doesn't take itself so seriously that it can't have an Ersto Hubutt scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just makes it. I feel like if these books were kept the tension and kept the weight through the entirety of the whole thing, they would be challenging to read. Especially as we're doing it back to back to back to back. But because there is
levity,
these reprieves of these levity that take you through, it becomes this flowing journey that it's well, I want to know what's next. And you can't feel the lows without really feeling the highs, and the pulling of our emotion as reading through the books. It just feels great. And it makes me want to keep going forward versus being it's so sad,
I'm having a hard time expressing what I feel about it, but it's akin to the most confident person in the room is rarely the person who is exuding a confidence. Do you know what I mean? The most confident person in the room can be self-effacing and have moments of letting themselves be goofy or laughed at. it would be easy for me to assume that the level of pure effort that it is required to craft these books into existence would lead someone to a place of taking them extremely seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, everything is taken seriously, but like the confidence to also insert a who but into your world.
Yeah.
I find it to be very impressive and very laudable and inspiring. Like that. Again, I'm sounding like a real fanboy, but I've become one.
I just love like we go. I know that you praise the moments of like the most beautiful prose and like those weighty scenes, but I do love that the time where you're like, I have to try and find the words to express my admiration is when Hubat comes in.
Yeah.
I get it though. I get it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay, one more week of Midnight Tides. We see how it all shakes out at the end of this novel. I'm very excited. I'm literally going to go read today after we record.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to get back. Yeah, so next week, one more chapter and the epilogue. But we do have some sections, a few selections that we'd like to read. Would you like to start, Lana?
Would.
Okay.
I'm actually going to pull, because the first thing that really struck me is I loved the intro thing for chapter 2022. Chapter 22. It is a bit longer, but I am going to read the whole thing. Deal with it. An old man emerged from the ditch. A creature of mud and wild autumn winds capering like a hare across a bouldered field. Across and through the stillness of time unhinged that sprawls patient and unexpectant in the place where the battle lies spent. Unmoving and never again moving bodies strewn and death twisted like lost languages tracking contorted glyphs on a barrow door. And he read well the aftermath, the disarticulated script, rent and dissolute the pillars of self toppled like termite towers all spilled out round his dancing feet. And he shouted in gleeful revelation the truth he'd found in these red-fleshed pronouncements. There's peace, he shrieked. There is peace. And it was no difficult thing, where I sat in the saddle above the salt-rimed horseflesh to lift my crossbow, aim and loose the quarrel, skewering the madman to his proclamation. Now, said I, in the silence that followed, now there is peace.
So good. So good.
So good.
My first is a moment of Udnas musing on armies and war. An army marched like some headless migration, each beast bound by instinct, the imperatives of violence. Armies marched from complexity into simplicity. It was this detail that drove them onward. A field waited, on which all matters could be reduced, on which dust and screams and blood brought cold clarity. This was the secret hunger of warriors and soldiers, of governments, kings, and emperors. The simple mechanics of victory and defeat. The perfect feint to draw every eye, every mind lured into the indulgent game. Focus on the scales. Count the measures and mull over balances. Observe the stacked bodies like stacked coins. And time is devoured. The mind exercised in the fruitless repetition of the millstone. And all the world beyond was still and blurred for the moment, so long as no one jarred the table.
That was
so good.
So good. That was one of the other quotes that I pulled as well. So good. All of the scenes, Unas Ralad, the brothers, Those
Mhm.
really stuck with me. I'm also looking at my quotes and realizing that I can always tell when I get like more into the reading, because I race through chapter 24. I don't have any quotes from it. Should I? Probably. I don't. I have two more small ones, but I am going to connect them. They're on
Okay.
different pages, but I love them back to back. We must not. Oh, this is Roulade with his brothers. We must not run from our memories, Roulade said as Udnas brought him his cup. The blood of kin need not always burn, brothers. There must be times when it simply warms us. And then a little bit later, it says, they drank their wine, and it seemed to Trull that something was present. Some part of his life he thought, not long gone, but non-existent in the first place. They sat, the three of them, brothers, and nothing more.
Yeah. Lovely.
Lovely.
Even if it's a lie.
Yeah.
I have a short one and a long one. The short one, I love this after the jerk boys push Udnas down the hill, and Roulade is like, "Hey, who did that?" And Udnas is like, "I don't know. It's no big deal. Nobody did it."
Mm-hmm.
Theridaus, the guy who says, "Do not believe I now owe you, slave."
Yeah.
And Udnas says, "You will discover," the slave said, moving
Mhm.
past the warrior, "that the notion of debt is not so easily denied."
Get
Sick
him.
burn
Get
from
him.
the slave who was indebted. Oh,
Indebted no longer, baby. Woo! Get him.
Sick
Get
burn.
him. Yeah.
All right, and then this last one is the spirit demon just thinking about stuff. Through the river's dark silts, clamoring like a vast crab, sifting centuries of secrets, the bed of an ancient river held so much, a multitude of tales written in layer upon layer of detritus, muddy nets snagged upon older wreckage, sunken ships, the sprawl of ballast stones, ragged rows of sealed urns still holding their mundane riches, bones rotting everywhere, gathered up in sinkholes where the currents swirled, and deeper still, in silts thick and hardening and swallowed in darkness, bones flattened by pressures and transformed into crystal-lined lattices, arrayed in skeletons of stone. So cool.
So cool. It just reminded me of something I meant to mention that I thought was like such a cool and like haunting, disgusting visual of, on the big battle.
Yeah.
The teeth raining down afterwards. Oh, freaky. Oh,
So
so
freaky.
good. So good.
All right, now I feel like, I know we're already long, but I feel like it would only be right if we attempted together to read the Ersto Hubut scene. If you're up for it.
I am up for it. It is
All right.
short.
It is short. We can start with
Go ahead.
it begun innocently enough.
Yeah.
You read the Pinocell lines, I'll read the Hubut lines and the narration.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Are you there?
I'm there.
All right. It had begun innocently enough, as Pinocell loosed a loud sigh and said,
And now you can marry me.
It was a moment before her words registered, upon which, bleary-eyed, he looked over in disbelief. Marry you? What's wrong with how it is now, Cherry Tart?
What's wrong? It's respectable, and I want you, fat fleabit oaf. I earned it. Respectable. You marry me, Ersto Hubut, and now that the Endurian's done and conquered us, marry me.
All right, I will.
When?
She demanded, sensing the out he was angling towards. When? When? Ha! He had his answer, and at that instant, the fetid green water of Settle Lake sprawled out before them like a turgid plain of seaweed fertilizer, paled into murky white, and clouds began rising from its now frozen surface. An icy breeze swept over Ersto Hubut and Pinocell. There was a sudden, deep thump from somewhere beneath the frozen lake's ice, although not a single crack showed. Ersto Hubut stared, disbelieving. opened his mouth, then closed it. Then his shoulders sagged. Today, love, I'll marry you today.
So
Such
cute.
a great scene.
I love it. I love
Just
it.
delightful way to pay off a giant demon being locked in ice. Is a couple of people a couple of people musing about when they get married. That's just...
It's so good. And being like the perspective of like, there's crazy magic happening. Things are brutal, death, but there's normies in the world that are
Normies.
just getting drunk and saying, should we get married before we die? Love it.
Love it. All right. Thank you for being with us, folks. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Love to get your responses. Love to get your topics for ways to start the show with a non-spoiler segment. You can always email us, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. Go to the Discord, 5x5DLC on Discord, or post a comment on the YouTube video. Next week, it is the end of Midnight Tides. Can't wait to be there with you. See you soon.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your